Welcome to Mike's Minute. My name is Mike Funky and I am an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up. And today I'm going to show you a technique that I kind of developed. There are probably other people that have done this, but I didn't see anyone else do it, so I'm going to take credit for it. This is a really easy technique, and I think it gives you a very dramatic result. So the stamp set that we're working with today is called Country Home. And Country Home, and I apologize for the reflection here, Country Home is a stamp set that is relatively new to Stampin' Up. It is a stamp set that appears in our 2018 holiday catalog. It's got some absolutely wonderful images in it. I started creating with this stamp set and I just couldn't stop. I just kept making, and I used it for fall cards, I used it for a couple of sympathy cards, I used it for a couple of Christmas cards. So it's a very versatile set, and hopefully it will go past January when this catalog retires. But if not, I strongly recommend that you pick it up because it's really a very versatile stamp set. So we're going to use this stamp set. And we're going to use, as far as supplies, the supply list is very short. We're going to use soft suede classic ink, and we're also going to use an aqua painter. Now, an aqua painter has water in it, clearly, and the cardstock that we're using is crumb cake cardstock. Now, crumb cake cardstock is not a watercolor paper, so the whole key here is not to use a lot of water when you do this. This is going to rely a lot, mostly actually, on the stamped image for color. So that's what you want to keep in mind as you're doing this, is that be very easy on the water. And for that reason, I always keep a little piece of paper towel, because there's at times it can get a little bit more ink than you want. So you kind of dry it off a little bit, because really all you need is damp. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, and I'm going to turn it this way just because I can, and we're going to zoom in just a little bit. So let me get in so where you can see it a little bit better. That's a little better. That shows you most of the picture, and that's really what we need to do. So you're going to start out, and you're going to rely on the ink that's part of the stamped image. And you're just going to start moving that ink around with the damp aqua painter. And you'll notice, surprisingly, there is quite a bit of ink that's going to move on this. Again, like I said, you don't want to load it with water because you'll ruin the image, and it'll also warp the paper. But if your aqua painter is damp, it's just going to be enough ink or enough water to move that ink and actually color the image. So I'm not going in any particular order. I'm simply just rubbing the aqua painter over the image to bring that color that's part of the original stamped image into the center. And this part is really the easiest part. As I said, this is all you're really doing is you're just kind of coloring with water, or very little water, but relying on the stamped image to give you the color that you're looking for. What's going to be a little bit more tedious, for lack of a better word, although, boy, I'll tell you, I did this, the first project I did with this turned out great. So it's, and it's just been, I can't tell you how many of these I've made trying to do this video, make sure that everything is in the frame of the camera and that nothing's showing that I don't want to be showing. Okay, so there you can see we've kind of got the main image colored. And now we're going to work on the picture. And the picture is a little bit different, because with the picture, we want to take the ink that's on the edge and pull it in like this. And we're also going to leave a bar towards the center of unpainted cardstock. And what that's going to do is, as we move this ink into the center, it's going to give the illusion that there's actually a shiny part on this vase, and that's the light reflecting on the picture. I keep saying vase, but it's not a vase, it's a picture. Okay, now just because of the nature of the beast here, there's not a lot of ink involved in the outline of this picture, so we're going to need to supplement a little bit. So what I've done is I've added to the lid of my Stampin' Pad, just squeeze the pad bottom onto the pad so that it transfers some of the ink onto the lid of the, I guess it's onto the bottom of the pad. And I'm going to use that as some supplemental ink. Now you're going to notice, bring this to your attention as well, the color in the center is very intense. We're not going to dip into that color as is. We're going to drag it out to the corner and make a little bit of a puddle out of it. So we're going to do this, and actually I'm going to squeeze the Aqua painter a little bit so we can see right here. I'm actually making it watered down a little bit because we don't want a lot of intense color. So that's what I've done. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drag a line of this all the way down the edge, and then I'm going to start pulling it in. Pretty much what I just did with the existing line, only I'm relying on the ink I just now put on it. So you can see we're kind of deepening that. It gives it a little bit of personality. And the same thing, we're going to do the same thing for the other side. So we're just going to drag a line of this color down to this side of the vase, or the side of the picture. There I go again. And then drag it in. Got a little bit too much water in that. And you'll see it kind of creates the illusion that there's a shiny part right in the center of that vase. Now if you want, if you think the vase looks too dark, you can always do this to just kind of color it in a little bit so that that center isn't too glaring. But that's all I think I'm going to do to the vase, because we really don't want to overdo it. Now we're going to take the full color from the center of that pad, and we're going to use it for two places. We're going to use it along the bottom of the picture to give that a little bit of a accent. We're going to use it along the top rim of the picture to color that in. And we're also going to use some of that intense color to do the spout, because we want that to be a little bit darker than the rest of the image. So there we are with the spout. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the solid color and I'm going to color in the berries, because the berries really should be a lot darker, and that's going to actually make those pop, and it gives it a little bit more depth. Like that. Let's see here. Let's just do this a little bit darker. Then the last shade on the image I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the underside of the leaves, just to give it end to these globes, whatever the heck these things are. I have no idea what these are. But, you know, I always say, we don't know what it is, just color it in, and people will make their own decisions as to what it is. Okay. And we'll do that a little bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of center to this flower. Let's color the stems. And that looks pretty good. Now, the last thing we're going to do, and this, again, you're going to want to use the diluted color, because you want to give this vase a little bit of a shadow so that we know it's not sitting in the center of the universe with nothing to sit on. So, and you see, I'm not really being real careful. I'm not using a lot of intense color, but I'm giving it a little bit of a base there. Okay, so that's your image. That's what it looks like, all done. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to put our sentiment on. So I use the sentiment that says, simply thankful for all the good things. These are going to actually be my thank you cards to my customers, because I send out Thanksgiving cards. And so we're just going to place it kind of where we want it, where we don't have too much obstructed. And there we go. finished product. So easy, as you can see, to do. Very few supplies, which you can stop by my blog and purchase if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that you're currently working with. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop by my blog as well. The blog is stampin-style.com. And I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoy this technique, and I'm going to try not to overdo it. Thanks so much, and have a great day.